Start.
Good morning, students. Yesterday we stopped in between. That is other issue was everything I need to know I learned in the forest. 3 units I have completed. 50% more is there. If you have the textbooks, please follow the text. The dead earth world view. That means man thinks that the earth is dead. It is a wrong view about that. The war against the earth began with this idea of separateness. Last class we dealt about separateness or apartheid and eco-apartheid. The same idea. This only started creating problem between man and the nature. Its contemporary seeds were sown when the living earth was transformed into dead matter to facilitate industrial revolution. In Europe, there was an industrial revolution when people started destroying the forest, cutting the trees and building factories and all that, industries. And this is the time when the seeds of this war started. Monocultures replaced diversity. Earlier we had diversity, that is in the nature, and everything became monocultures. Raw materials and dead matter replaced the vibrant earth. Vibrant earth means earth is having life, vibrant, living. So now it has become dead because of raw materials and dead matter which are required for the industries. Terra nullius means empty land. Terra means land, nullius means empty. Terra nullius replaced terra madre. Terra madre means mother earth. So mother earth has been replaced by empty land, suitable for industries. Now we deal about two people. One is Francis Bacon and Caroline Merchant. See, Francis Bacon, the philosophy goes back to Francis Bacon, called the father of modern science. He said that science and inventions that result do not merely exert a gentle guidance over nature's course. They have the power to conquer and subdue her, to shake her to the foundations. Here he supports about science and inventions. He is a scientist, father of modern science, Francis Bacon. So what he says is that science and inventions, they do not have a gentle influence on the nature and the earth. They have the power to conquer and subdue the earth and to shake her to the foundations. You can see about the nuclear weapons. They can do drastic things on the nature. That is what he implies. And now we come to Caroline Merchant, the philosopher and historian. Caroline Merchant points out this shift of perspective, change from nature as a living, nurturing mother to inert, dead and manipulable matter. That means earth was living, nurturing, feeding us, looking after us. Now it has become inert, dead and manipulable matter. Man can do anything. He can construct factories, he can do anything. Matter was well suited to the activities that leads to capitalism. So all these things have helped capitalism, industries. The domination images created by Bacon. So Bacon created some domination images. And other leaders of the scientific revolution replaced those of the nurturing earth. So what are the images we see? Removing other leaders of scientific earth replaced those of nurturing earth. Removing a culture on the constraint or exploitation of nature. That earlier, last class, we have seen about the domination. That is the domination of people over nature, men over women, rich over the poor and all that. Now, removing a culture on the constraint on the exploitation of nature. dig or kill his mother. If you see the films also, even the greatest underwater and the greatest criminal will never harm his mother. They have so much of respect for the mother. Similarly, earth is our mother. So, but we don't realize that. We started digging, mining for example, we are digging the earth. Amen? Dig into our entrails for gold. Entrails means inside stomach, what is entrails? We open, take out the gold and mutilate her body. And we destroy her by the nature. We destroy the earth. Now the next topic is on what nature teaches. So in whatever I have seen this topic, an important question is, how are the views of Caroline Merchant differ from those of Francis Bacon? Generally essay question is, how do the views of Francis Bacon differ from those of Caroline Merchant? At the end I will deal with that. Next is what nature teaches. What nature teaches us. Today, at a time of multiple crises intensified by globalization, we need to move away from the paradigm of nature as dead matter. We should move away. We should not think that earth is dead. Now it is a time of crisis everywhere. Industries, biological war, many things are happening. So we should move away from the paradigm of nature. Paradigm, G silent, as dead matter. We should not think that the earth is dead. Earth is alive. We need to move to an ecological paradigm. We should go to an ecological paradigm. We move with the nature. We move with the ecology. And for this, the best teacher is nature itself. You might have seen nowadays nature is going out of our hand. Everywhere, tsunami, and then floods, landslides, all these are because we have disturbed the nature. We have disturbed the earth. It was fertile, now it has become dead. So it starts misbehaving. Then we come to an important topic, that is Earth University. Very important one. The Earth University teaches us Earth democracy. So we have democracy. Similarly, Earth also has got democracy, freedom. What is Earth democracy? It is the freedom of all species to evolve within the web of life, and the freedom and responsibility of humans as members of Earth family to recognize, protect and respect the rights of other species. So what is Earth democracy? Democracy means freedom. But Earth democracy means freedom of all species on the earth. Within the web of life, freedom of all species to evolve within the web of life, and also the freedom and responsibility of humans, our responsibility as members of the Earth's family, to recognize, protect and respect the rights of other species. So we should not just neglect other species, we must recognize, protect and respect the rights of other species. This is called Earth democracy. Freedom of species and freedom of humans. Then Earth democracy is a shift from two things, that is from anthropocentrism to ecocentrism. You know what is anthropology? Anthropology is the study of man. Some people study about man's character. By just looking, they will learn many things. That is the study of man's what is anthropology. And from anthropology to ecocentrism, not anthropocentrism to ecocentrism. So man thinks that he is the center of everything. He is the one of everything. This is called anthropocentrism. We must shift from this. We must shift from anthropocentrism to ecocentrism. We must go into the nature. We must respect the nature. Go along with that. If you go along with that, then nature will be our teacher. have proper democracy, the earth has no democracy, then we will have sufficient food and water to freedom from hunger and thirst. We will be away from hunger and thirst. We will have sufficient food. That means if you respect nature, if you do not disturb the nature, nature will provide us sufficient food and water. There will be no hunger and thirst. Because our university is located at Navdanya farm. Last class we studied about Navdanya farm. See, Navdanya farm is located in the Doon Valley of Uttarakhand province. It was a farm for demonstration and training. The same place they started the Earth University. By Navdanya farm, a biodiversity farm, and the participants learn to work with living seeds, living soil, and the web of life. And all those who are members of this university, they work with living seeds, living soil, and the web of life. Participants include the farmers, school children, and people from across the world. So these are the participants. Two of the most important popular courses are the two courses conducted by a university. They are A to Z of organic farming and agroecology. This is number one. And the second is Gandhi and globalization. So these are the two important courses conducted by the Earth University. First one is the A to Z of organic farming and agroecology. Second one is Gandhi and globalization. In this portion, one of the important questions is on Earth democracy. That is generally asked, Earth University teaches Earth democracy. Discuss. This is an essay question. So you have to write all these. The present day globalization, we must move from the paradigm of nature as a dead matter to an ecological paradigm. And for this, nature is the best teacher for us. And then about the Earth University. Earth University teaches Earth democracy. And what is the democracy? It's the freedom of all species to evolve within the web of life, and the freedom and responsibility of the humans to recognize, protect, and respect the rights of other species. This is democracy. Then, since we all depend upon the earth, and Earth democracy is a shift from anthropocentrism to ecocentrism. That man is not the center, and man must be the center of the ecology. Then if Earth democracy, then we will have food and water. There will be freedom from hunger and thirst. And lastly, the Earth University is located at Navdanya farm. And what are the participants? Farmers, school children, and people from across the world. Two important courses conducted by Earth University are the A to Z of organic farming and agroecology, and Gandhi and globalization. So the third topic is on the poetry of the forest. Here we deal with Rabindranath Tagore's contribution to the Earth University and his views on nature and the forest. The Earth University is inspired by Rabindranath Tagore, India's national poet and Nobel Prize laureate. You know about Tagore. So he is a Nobel Prize winner and also the national poet. And the Earth University was formed on the inspiration of Tagore. Initially, Tagore started a learning center in Shantiniketan in West Bengal as a forest school. First he started Shantiniketan. Even nowadays we have Shantiniketan schools like Navodaya schools. And first he started in West Bengal. It was a forest school to take inspiration from nature and to create University in 1921, growing into one of India's most famous centers of learning. Today, just as in Tagore's time, we need to turn to nature and the forest for lessons in freedom. So man must turn to the nature again, to the forest, and then learn lessons for freedom. And one of the important essays written by Tagore was Tapovan. Tapovan means forest of purity. Tapovan means forest of purity. In that essay, Tagore writes, Indian civilization has been distinctive in locating its source of generation, material and intellectual, in the forest, not in the city. So what he says is that Indian civilization, if you take the ancient history, all the saints, all the hermits, they all lived in the forest only. And they used to have a school there, like residential schools. And everything started in the forest only, not in the city. Then India's best ideas have come where man was in communion with the trees and rivers and lakes, away from the crowds. India's best ideas, even the best writings, best poetry, everything has come from where? Where man was having silence, where man was in communion with the trees and rivers and lakes, away from the crowds. The peace of the forest has helped the intellectual evolution of man. The peace of the forest has brought about intellectual evolution of man. The culture of the forest has fueled the culture of Indian society. So, what Indian society, what the culture is, it is all from the forest only. The culture that has arisen from the forest has been influenced by the diverse process of renewal of life, which are always at play in the forest, varying from species to species, from season to season, in sound and smell and sight. See, if you see the forest, it is not the same always. When the rain comes, forest grows beautiful, and when there is no rain, it dries up. There is always some change, renewal of life, from season to season, from species to species. The unifying principle of life in diversity, very important, life in diversity. India is a country of diversity. Similarly, forest has got life in diversity, different species. They live, they don't interfere. Of democratic pluralism, that is applicable to human beings. We have got democracy, different kinds, different religion, different languages, different customs, traditions, but we all live together, and that is democratic pluralism. Thus became the principle of Indian civilization. So that means everything originated from the forest, where all the species have got life in diversity, freedom. So man also developed this idea from the forest. It is this unity and diversity that is the basis of both ecological sustainability and democracy. See, unity and diversity. India is very strong because there is unity and diversity. If it is there, then we will have ecological sustainability and democracy. We will have good democracy. We will be able to live well if there is unity in diversity. Diversity without unity becomes the source of conflict and contest. See, if there is no unity, there is diversity but no unity, then what happens? There is a source of conflict and contest. During the British period, you must have seen some of the Indians they were entirely supporting the British, and because of that, a lot of things happened, conflict happened. That is where there is diversity but where there is no unity. Unity without diversity becomes the ground for external control. If there is no unity, then some others will come under overpower us. There will be some ground for external control. This is true of both nature and culture. Everything is both applicable for that. The forest is a unity in its diversity, and we are united with the nature through our relationship with the forest. In Tagore's writings, the forest was not just a source of knowledge and freedom. The forest was not a source of knowledge and freedom only. It was a source of beauty and joy. And even people want to be happy, we enjoy that they go to the forest. If we see the previous, all these ancient mythology, everything is happening in the forest only. Of art and aesthetics. Aesthetics, that is happiness to the senses. Aesthetics means it gives pleasure to the senses. Suppose you got a beautiful mother is cooking beautiful food and you smell it and you feel so happy. If a beautiful song is coming, you hear and then you feel happy. If a nice wind is blowing, you feel and then you feel happy. And this is called aesthetic sense. So it gives aesthetic happiness also, of harmony and perfection. Of harmony, living together peacefully and perfection. It symbolizes the universe. The forest teaches us union and compassion. It's very important. The forest teaches two things. One is union, the other is compassion. The forest also teaches us enoughness, satisfaction. So man doesn't have enoughness. Always man wants everything. He is never happy. He wants more and more. But the forest teaches us enoughness. As a principle of equity, all should have equal equity. How to enjoy the gifts of nature without exploitation and accumulation is very, very important. For man, there are two things. One is need and one is greed. Baba Ambe, a great man, he said, need should have an upper hand over greed. That means, should not be greedy. Everybody should have. So same thing. So then we will not have exploitation and accumulation. Tagore quotes from the ancient texts written in the forest. Know all that moves in this moving world as developed by God, and find enjoyment through renunciation, not through greed of possession. No species in a forest appropriates the share of another species. Every species sustains itself in cooperation with others. In the forest, if there are two trees, two plants, they will not fight. The tree will not ask you, give me more place. They will live comfortably without any misunderstandings. They live in cooperation with others. The end of consumerism and accumulation is the beginning of the joy of living. When we can have happiness, when there is an end of accumulation and consumerism. When we have just what is required, then we will be happy. The conflict between greed and compassion, conquest and cooperation, violence and harmony, the Tagore road continues even today. And it is the forest that shows us the way beyond this conflict. So everything will come to an end when we learn about the forest, learn about the nature and live with the nature. So with this the lesson comes to an end. So the last one is also very important. It's about Tagore's views on nature and also about the forest. There is particularly about unity and diversity. What is that? Unity and diversity. Just I will fast again go through the important essay questions, because one more questions are so many and you can just read them and understand. Important question is, first one is on, the first chapter is on Chipko movement. 2 times it has come, right? A note on Chipko movement. So here you must start. Chipko movement is a non-violent response the large-scale deforestation that was taking place in the Himalayan region. Then go to the incident. In the 1970s, the peasant women of Garhwal, they came out in defense of the forest. Logging had led to landslides and floods, shortage of scarcity of water, fodder and fuel. It was a heavy burden for the women. Then they realized the real value of the forest was not timber, streams, food for their cattle, and fuel for their hearts. Then an important incident took place in 1977. That is in Arwani, a village in the Himalayan region. A woman named Bachni Devi led resistance against her own husband, who had obtained a contract to cut the trees. So all the women joined together. They held lighted lanterns, though it was daytime. They hugged the trees so that the forest could not cut the trees. The loggers could not come cut the trees. And when they asked them, the women said that we will teach you forestry, and the real value of tree forest is springs, soil, and pure water. So this is about that. Second is what is Madana Shiva's on biodiversity intensive farming, or it is a right note on Navdanya farm. So Navdanya farm can be the answer same. See, Madana Shiva learned about biodiversity and biodiversity based living economies. She wrote a book called Monocultures of the Mind. Once one more question was there. Name the book written by Vandana Shiva. Everybody wrote everything I need to know. Everything I need to know is not a book. It is an article. The book was Monocultures of the Mind. Vandana states that the failure to understand biodiversity is at the root of impoverishment of nature and culture. Then Vandana started Navdanya. Navdanya means movement. Navdanya is different. Navdanya farm is different. It's a movement for biodiversity conservation on organic farming in 1987. They set up more than 100 community seed banks, and they saved more than 3,000 varieties of rice. And there was a transition from fossil fuel and chemical-based monoculture to biodiverse ecological systems nourished by the sun and the soil. Vandana Shiva wanted to start this farm for demonstration and training. So Navdanya farm was started in the Doon Valley in the lower elevation of the Himalayan region of Uttarakhand province in 1994. See, Navdanya started earlier, 1987, but the farm started in 1994. They conserved 630 varieties of rice, 150 varieties of wheat, and hundreds of other species. They promoted biodiversity intensive form of farming and produced more food and nutrition. The third question is rights of nature on the global stage. Very important question. What are the rights of nature on the global stage? Here we have these two countries. One is Ecuador, and Bolivia. Then about apartheid. First one is Ecuador recognized the rights of nature in the constitution, and Bolivia recognized the Universal Declaration of Rights of Mother Earth. And UN General Assembly was inspired by these two countries, and they organized a conference on the Earth Day celebration in 2011. The UN Secretary General's report was Harmony with the Nature. In that, they elaborate on the importance of reconnecting with the nature. See, man have domination of people over nature, men over women, rich over the poor. This should be removed and should be new system based on partnership. Then separatism. Separatism means being away. In South Africa, we had something called apartheid. Apartheid, people, discrimination on the basis of color. But there is some more wider and more deeper apartheid, and that is called eco-apartheid. The famous South African environmentalist Cormac Carrillo deals with this, and this apartheid should be removed. We should live with the nature, not away from the nature. Next is on the views of Caroline Merchant and Francis Bacon. As I told you today's lesson earlier, the idea of separateness transformed the earth into dead matter to facilitate the industrial revolution. So monoculture replaced diversity, raw materials and dead matter replaced the vibrant earth, terra nullius replaced terra madre. Today's lesson is. Now, Francis Bacon, the father of modern science, he said that science and inventions do not exert a gentle guidance over nature. They have the power to conquer and subdue nature, subdue and shake up the foundations. But Caroline Merchant is a philosopher and historian. He points out the shift of perspective from nature as a living mother to inert dead matter facilitates capitalism. The dominating images created by Bacon and others replace the nurturing earth, moving to a constraint on exploitation of nature. So Merchant concludes that no one kills his mother, but man kills the earth to dig out the gold or minerals from the earth. Now next one is about Earth University teaches Earth democracy. It's a very important question. Here you have to go how the Earth University was started. Earth University was inspired by Rabindranath Tagore. The Earth University is located at Navdania farm in Uttarakhand province. Participants include farmers, school children and people. And the two important courses conducted by Earth University are organic farming, of organic farming and agroecology and Gandhian globalization. Earth University teaches Earth democracy. What is Earth democracy? It's the freedom of all species to evolve within the web of life and the freedom and responsibility of humans as members of the Earth family to recognize, protect and respect the rights of others. So Earth democracy is a shift from anthropocentrism to ecocentrism. So that's what we have done today. The last question is on how are unity and diversity related to each other? And what are the Tagore's views on nature and forest? So Tagore started with Shantiniketan in West Bengal as a forest school, but later on it became a university in 1921. It was to take inspiration from nature and to create an Indian cultural renaissance. In one of his essays, the Tapovan, which means forest of purity, Tagore writes that Indian civilization has been distinctive in the forest and not in the city. And India's best ideas, they have come from the forest. The culture of the forest has influenced the diverse process of renewal of life in the forest, from species to species, from season to season, in sight, sound and smell. The unifying principle of life in diversity became the principle of Indian civilization. Then lastly I dealt with this. The unity in diversity is the basis of ecological sustainability and democracy. Diversity without unity becomes a source of conflict and contest. Unity without diversity becomes a ground for external control. The forest is a unity and diversity, and similarly, we also must follow this principle of democratic pluralism. There must be unity in diversity. Okay, thank you.